The video arrived at 11:47 p.m., shattering Isla Romano's carefully constructed world with 3 minutes of grainy footage and muffled screams. Lila's face filled the phone screen, bruised, terrified, but alive. Behind her, shadows moved like predators. A distorted voice demanded $2 million. 72 hours. Instructions to follow. Isla's hands trembled as she replayed it, searching for clues in the concrete walls, the distant sounds, anything. But there was only Lila's voice, cracking, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Isla. $2 million. Ayla could barely scrape together 2,000. Her forensic accounting career paid well enough for her modest apartment and independent life. But this was impossible. Unless the thought materialized like poison, sweet and deadly. There was one world where $2 million was pocket change, where problems like kidnapping were solved with violence instead of police reports. The world her father had died trying to escape 20 years ago, taking a bullet meant for someone else in a restaurant massacre she barely remembered. Isla had spent her entire adult life running from that legacy, building walls between herself and anything that smelled of organized crime. She'd chosen numbers over guns, order over chaos, legitimate over... Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. Mezzanotte Club, midnight. Come alone or she dies screaming. The Mezzanotte Club occupied a warehouse in the industrial district, the kind of place that didn't exist on any map. Isla's Uber driver refused to take her past the checkpoint, so she walked the final 3 blocks in heels that clicked against broken asphalt like a countdown. 2 men flanked the entrance, massive, impassive, eyes that cataloged her as a threat level and found her wanting. One spoke into his collar. The door opened. Inside, cigar smoke and expensive cologne mixed with something metallic. Blood, maybe. Fear, definitely. The main floor had been converted into a casino, but this wasn't Vegas glamour. This was darker, older money, the kind that bought silence and disappeared problems. Poker tables dominated the space. At the center table, beneath a single hanging light that seemed stolen from an interrogation room, 5 men played for stacks of chips that represented more than Isla would earn in a lifetime. She recognized 2 faces from her father's old photographs, the ones her mother had burned but Isla had salvaged. Underbosses, enforcers, men whose handshakes ended lives. And at the dealer's right, a man who made the others look soft. Dante Moretti. She knew the name like she knew gravity, an inescapable force. The Moretti family's ghost, their reaper, the man who solved problems that couldn't be solved any other way. Rumor said he'd killed his first man at 15. Rumor said he felt nothing. Rumor said a lot of things, but the truth was in his eyes. Dark, calculating, and currently fixed on her with the intensity of a predator recognizing prey. "I need to speak with Dante Moretti," Isla announced, voice steadier than her heartbeat. The room fell silent. Someone laughed. Dante didn't move, didn't blink, just watched her with that terrible patience. "You're interrupting a game," one of the underbosses growled. "And you're holding my friend." Isla pulled out her phone, showed the video. 72 hours. 2 million. I can't pay it, but I can offer something better. Now Dante moved, a minimal gesture that silenced the room more effectively than any shout. "Approach." Ila's heels clicked across the floor. Up close, Dante was worse. Beautiful in the way dangerous things are, all sharp angles and controlled violence. A scar bisected his left eyebrow. His hands, resting on the table, were elegant but marked with old burns. "You know who I am?" His voice was smoke and gravel. "Yes." "Then you know I don't negotiate with desperate civilians." He turned a poker chip between his fingers, a casual display of dexterity that somehow felt threatening. "What could you possibly offer me?" "Information." Isla pulled a USB drive from her purse, set it on the table. "I'm a forensic accountant. I've spent 3 years building a database of shell corporations, money trails, legitimate businesses that aren't so legitimate. I know which city councilmen are on which payrolls, which judges, which federal agents. Interest flickered in those dark eyes. Why? My father died in the Castellano restaurant massacre. I wanted to understand why. I wanted, she stopped, redirect. It doesn't matter. What matters is I have information worth more than 2 million, and I'm offering it for one thing. Get Lila back. Dante studied her for a long moment, then gestured. The other players left without argument, melting into shadows. Alone now, he leaned back, somehow more threatening in his casual posture than when he'd been still. Your friend, Leela Chen. She witnessed a transaction 3 nights ago outside the Jade Dragon restaurant, a meeting between my family and the Volkovs that wasn't supposed to happen. His tone remained neutral, but Ela felt the temperature drop. She saw something that could destroy both families if it reached the wrong ears. The Volkovs took her to ensure silence, but they're not the only ones with an interest in keeping her quiet. The implication hit like ice water. You're saying your family wants her dead too. I'm saying her kidnapping is more complicated than you think. Dante picked up her USB drive, examined it. And your timing is interesting. I have a traitor in my organization, someone feeding information to rivals, skimming money, undermining operations. I need them identified, and I need proof. You want me to find them. I want you to work for me. Live in my safe house, analyze our financial records, expose the rat. In exchange, I retrieve your friend and guarantee both your safety. He met her eyes, and Isla saw something flicker there. Not warmth, but recognition. But understand, Isla Romano, if you enter my world, you don't leave unchanged. This isn't a transaction. It's a deal with the devil. Isla thought of Lila's terrified face, her apology. Thought of her father's corpse in a casket she'd been too young to understand. Thought of every choice that had led to this moment. Standing before a killer in a room that smelled of blood and money, about to cross a line she'd spent her life avoiding. When do we start? Dante's smile was a razor's edge. You just did. Welcome to hell, Miss Romano. The safe house was a converted brownstone in a neighborhood that pretended not to notice the armed guards or the luxury cars with tinted windows. Isla's new reality began at dawn with Dante's knock. 3 sharp raps that jolted her from fitful sleep filled with Lila's screams. Up, we start now. His voice carried through the solid oak door like a command from a general. Ela found him in the kitchen, surrounded by file boxes and a laptop that looked like it cost more than her car. He'd traded last night's tailored suit for black tactical pants and a fitted shirt that revealed the holster at his hip, a casual reminder that violence was always within reach. Coffee's fresh. You'll need it. He gestured to the boxes. 5 years of financial records, legitimate businesses, shell corporations, cash operations. Somewhere in there is a pattern. Money disappearing, information leaking at convenient times, deals going wrong. Isla poured coffee with hands steadier than she felt. You said the traitor is someone close. Family. Or close enough. Something dark crossed his features. In my world, those are the only people who can truly destroy you. Enemies you see coming. Family bleeds you from the inside. She settled at the table, opened the first file. Numbers had always been her sanctuary, clean, logical, incapable of lying if you knew how to read them. How long do we have? The Volkovs will keep Lila alive for another 60 hours, maybe less. They're waiting to see if anyone comes for her, using her as bait. Dante leaned against the counter, watching her with that unnerving intensity. Which means we have 2 priorities. Find my traitor fast and prepare you to survive what comes next. Survive? You think I can walk into Volkov territory alone? You're my cover. My asset. Where I go, you go. He pushed off the counter, moved toward her with predatory grace. Which means you need to learn how to not die when bullets start flying. We train this afternoon. The morning disappeared into spreadsheets and bank statements. Isla's eyes burned, but patterns emerged like constellations. Payments that didn't quite match invoices, timing that aligned too perfectly with rival gang movements, money flowing through a restaurant supply company that should have been dormant. Here. She turned the laptop toward Dante, who'd spent hours on encrypted calls in the next room. This company, Adriatic Imports. It's supposedly a food distributor for your family's restaurants, but the purchase orders don't match actual inventory. Someone's using it to move money out, small amounts, careful but consistent over 18 months. Dante studied the screen, jaw tightening. That account is managed by 3 people. My brother Marco, my underboss Giovanni, and... He stopped, something dangerous flickering in his eyes. And me. Then someone has access to your credentials, or it's Marco. The words came out flat, emotionless, but Isla saw his hands curl into fists. We're done for now. Get changed. Training starts in 10 minutes. The basement had been converted into something between a gym and an armory. Mats covered the floor, weapons lined the walls. Everything from knives to assault rifles displayed with the care of museum pieces. Dante tossed her a pair of athletic clothes. Change behind the screen. We start with basics. How to fall, how to break a hold, how to identify exits. I took self-defense in college. His smile was without humor. Those classes teach you to fight off drunk fraternity boys. I'm teaching you to survive men who kill for a living. There's a difference. For the next 2 hours, Isla learned that difference intimately. Dante was a brutal teacher, patient but unforgiving, correcting her stance with touches that were clinical yet somehow burned, demonstrating holds that left her breathless and hyper-aware of his strength. Your instinct is to pull away. Wrong. He had her pinned against the wall, his body a cage. In close quarters, you push in. Use your attacker's expectations against them. They expect fear. Give them aggression. Ila's heart hammered, from exertion, from fear, from something else she refused to name. This close, she could see the silver threading through his dark hair, smell the cedar and gunpowder scent that clung to him, feel the controlled power in every muscle. Like this? She drove her knee up sharply. Dante blocked it effortlessly, but something flickered in his eyes. Approval. Better. Again. By the time he called a break, Ila's muscles screamed and sweat soaked her clothes. Dante handed her water, barely winded himself. You learn fast. That's good. Tonight we have a lead, a dock warehouse where the Volkovs move product. Intelligence suggests they're processing Lila's ransom there, which means we can intercept, gather information. He met her eyes. It also means you'll see what I really do. Last chance to back out. Isla's hands trembled slightly as she drank. She thought of Leela, of the spreadsheets upstairs, suggesting Dante's own brother was a traitor, of the weapon at his hip, and the casual way he discussed violence. I'm not backing out. Then understand this. When we're out there, you do exactly what I say when I say it. Hesitation kills. Sentiment kills. You see something that horrifies you, you swallow it and keep moving. Can you do that? Could she? Isla had spent her life avoiding violence, building walls between herself and the darkness that had taken her father. But Lila was running out of time, and the only path forward led through blood. Yes. The warehouse squatted at the edge of the harbor, all rusted metal and broken windows. Dante parked 3 blocks away, killed the engine. He'd changed into dark tactical gear, face partially obscured by shadow, and looked every inch the reaper his reputation claimed. Stay behind me. Don't speak unless I tell you. If I say run, you run and don't look back. He handed her an earpiece. This keeps us connected. If we get separated, you head to the car and wait exactly 10 minutes. If I'm not back, you drive to this address. He pressed a card into her hand. It's a safe house. Tell them the password is Crimson. They'll protect you. What about you? I'll be dead, which means protection won't matter. He said it so matter-of-factly that Isla's stomach twisted. Ready? She wasn't, but she nodded anyway. They moved through shadows like ghosts, Dante's hand occasionally touching her lower back. Guidance or reassurance, she couldn't tell. The warehouse door hung open, an invitation or a trap. Inside, voices echoed. Dante signaled for her to wait, then disappeared into the darkness with terrifying silence. Isla pressed against a concrete pillar, heart pounding so loud she was sure someone would hear. Then, chaos. Gunfire erupted, muzzle flashes lighting the warehouse like lightning. Isla saw Dante move impossibly fast, a shadow with deadly purpose. Men fell, screaming or silent. The violence was surgical, efficient, beautiful in its horror. One man broke toward Isla's position. She froze, every instinct screaming. He raised his gun. Dante appeared from nowhere, knife flashing. The man crumpled. Blood pooled, black in the dim light. Move. Now. Dante grabbed her hand, pulled her deeper into the warehouse. Behind them, footsteps pounded. More voices. They burst into an office, Dante already scanning for intel. Isla saw a corkboard covered in photos, locations, schedules. And there, Lila's face, circled in red with an address she didn't recognize. Got it. Dante snapped pictures with his phone, then turned toward the door. It exploded inward. 3 men, weapons raised. Dante shoved Isla behind a desk, returned fire with deadly precision. The sound was deafening, cordite burning her throat. When silence fell, Dante was bleeding from his shoulder. Isla stumbled toward him, hands shaking. You're hit. Grazed. We need to leave. But he swayed slightly, and Isla saw the cost of his supernatural efficiency. He was human after all, bleeding and mortal. She grabbed his good arm, supported his weight. Lean on me. Isla, shut up and lean. Something flickered in his eyes, surprise, maybe respect. They stumbled toward the exit, emerging into night air that tasted like freedom. The car seemed miles away, but they made it, collapsing inside as sirens wailed in the distance. Dante drove one-handed, blood soaking his sleeve. In the glove box. First aid kit. Isla's hands shook as she retrieved it, began awkwardly wrapping his shoulder while he navigated dark streets. This close, she felt his warmth, his breath, the tremor in his muscles that revealed his humanity. Thank you, he said quietly, for not freezing, for helping. You saved my life. You saved mine. His eyes met hers, intense even through pain. We're even. But they weren't. Isla knew it with sudden clarity. They were bound now, tangled in violence and desperation, and something else that pulsed between them like a live wire. Back at the safe house, she helped him inside, into the bathroom. He peeled off his ruined shirt, revealing skin marked with scars that told stories of violence survived. Isla cleaned the wound with hands that grew steadier with each motion, falling into the clinical detachment of necessary care. You did well tonight, Dante said, watching her face. Most people break their first time seeing real violence. I'm not most people. But her voice shook, betraying the lie. His hand caught hers, warm and solid. No, you're not. Their eyes locked, and for a heartbeat, the world narrowed to the space between them. Blood and adrenaline, and something dangerous kindling in the darkness. Isla felt the pull, terrifying and inevitable. Then Dante released her hand, looked away. Get some rest. Tomorrow we have to deal with what you found in those files. If Marco is the traitor, he didn't finish. Didn't need to. Some betrayals were too deep for words. Isla left him there, but sleep was impossible. She kept seeing the violence, Dante's deadly grace, his blood on her hands. Kept feeling the moment when their eyes met and something shifted, irrevocable and damning. She'd entered his world. And God help her, part of her didn't want to leave. Morning came with accusations. Isla found Dante in his office, phone pressed to his ear, voice cold enough to frost glass. I don't care what he says. I want Marco here in 1 hour. No excuses. He ended the call, noticed Isla in the doorway. Dark circles shadowed his eyes. He hadn't slept either. The bandage on his shoulder was fresh, professionally done. Someone had come during the night. You're sure about the evidence? No preamble, no morning greeting. Just the desperate hope of a man wanting to be wrong about his brother. Isla entered, set her laptop on his desk, pulled up the file she'd been reviewing since 3 a.m. The pattern is clear. Every leak, every missing shipment, every deal that went wrong, they all trace back to Adriatic imports. and the access codes match Marco's login times. Dante's jaw clenched. Show me everything. For 20 minutes, Isla walked him through 18 months of financial treachery. Marco's codes accessing accounts at odd hours, money disappearing in increments designed to avoid detection, timing that aligned too perfectly with Volkov movements. It's circumstantial, Dante said finally, but his voice lacked conviction. Someone could have stolen his credentials. Could have, but there's more. Isla pulled up security footage she'd requested from Dante's tech specialist. This is from your warehouse, 3 weeks ago, 2 a.m. The grainy video showed Marco meeting with someone in the shadows, exchanging something small, a flash drive maybe. The other person's face never appeared on camera, as if they knew exactly where the blind spots were. Dante watched in silence, something breaking behind his eyes. Marco saved my life when I was 17. Took a knife meant for me, nearly died. I owe him everything. I'm sorry. And Isla was. She understood debts that couldn't be repaid, loyalty that transcended logic. But if he's the traitor, then I'll handle it. Dante stood, his movement sharp with barely contained violence. When he arrives, you'll present your evidence. I need to see his face when he hears it. Marco Moretti arrived exactly on time, which somehow made everything worse. He was older than Dante by 5 years, broader in build, with the same dark eyes but warmer. Or so they seemed until you looked closer and saw calculation lurking beneath charm. Little brother. Marco embraced Dante, then noticed Isla. And who's this? Finally bringing someone around? I was starting to worry you'd married your guns. Isla Romano. She's helping with the situation. Dante's tone was carefully neutral. We need to talk. All of us. They settled in the office, Dante behind his desk, Marco in the chair opposite, Isla standing to the side like a witness in a trial. The tension was suffocating. What situation? Marco's smile faded as he read Dante's expression. What's wrong? We have a traitor. Someone's been feeding information to the Volkovs, skimming money, undermining operations. Dante slid a folder across the desk. Isla's analysis traces everything back to Adriatic imports. Your accounts. Your access codes. Marco's face went white, then red. You think Dante, I would never? Then explain this. Isla opened her laptop, showed the evidence methodically. Each transaction, each suspicious timing, each access log. Marco's face grew more desperate with every revelation. Someone's setting me up. Can't you see that? Marco turned to Dante, pleading. I saved your life. I've stood by this family through everything. Why would I betray you now? I don't know, Dante said quietly, and the pain in his voice was a living thing. That's what I'm trying to understand. Let me help you investigate. Let me prove it's not me. Marco stood, agitated. What about Giovanni? He has access to those accounts too. He's always been ambitious, always wanted more power. Maybe. Giovanni has been like a father to me. Dante's voice hardened. He trained me, guided me. I won't throw accusations at him without proof. But you'll throw them at your own brother? Marco's laugh was bitter. Fine. Investigate me. Tear apart my life. You'll find nothing because there's nothing to find. The meeting dissolved in anger and suspicion. After Marco left, Dante sat in silence for long minutes, staring at nothing. You believe him, Isla said softly. I want to, but wanting and truth are different things. He looked at her, something raw in his expression. In my world, everyone lies. The question is whether their lies protect you or destroy you. What do we do now? Dante stood, came around the desk. We set a trap. If Marco is the traitor, he'll make contact with whoever he's working with. If he's being framed, the real traitor will make a move. He pulled out a burner phone. Tonight, there's a meeting between our family and a neutral party, weapons dealers looking to establish new supply lines. High value, high visibility. I'm going to leak false information through 3 channels. Marco's accounts, Giovanni's, and mine. Whichever channel the Volkovs respond to tells us who the traitor is. And if they respond to all 3, then we have a bigger problem than one traitor. His phone buzzed. He checked it, and something shifted in his expression. "We have a location for Lila." The intel from last night paid off. She's being held at a Volkov estate outside the city. But we can't move until we know who's feeding them information. If the traitor warns them we're coming. Lila dies. Isla felt the walls closing in. Every hour they delayed was another hour Lila suffered. But rushing in blind could kill them all. There's something else. Dante hesitated. Unusual for him. The meeting tonight, it's at the Bellini Hotel. High-end, very public. We need to pose as a couple, buyers interested in establishing our own operation. It's the only way to move freely without raising suspicion. A couple. Isla's heart rate kicked up. I mean, you'll need to act like you're mine. Touch me, laugh at my jokes, look at me like I'm more than a killer you're forced to work with. His eyes met hers, intense. Can you do that? The question hung between them, loaded with everything unspoken. The tension that had been building since that first night, the moments when their eyes met too long, the brush of hands that felt deliberate. Yes, Hila said, and wasn't sure if it was a lie or the most honest thing she'd ever said. The Bellini Hotel dripped old money and older secrets. Hila emerged from the bedroom in a dress Dante had provided, black silk that clung and flowed, expensive enough to belong in this world, revealing enough to be distracting. Dante's reaction was minimal, a slight widening of his eyes, a pause before he spoke. "You'll do." But his gaze lingered, and Hila felt it like a physical touch. He wore a tailored suit that transformed him from deadly weapon to devastating man. The shoulder holster was invisible beneath the jacket, but Isla knew it was there. Always there. "Remember," Dante said as they rode the elevator to the penthouse, "we're new money looking to expand. You're my girlfriend and business partner. Stay close, follow my lead, and if anything goes wrong, I run. I know." Isla adjusted her earpiece, hidden beneath artfully arranged hair. "I've got this." His hand found the small of her back as the doors opened. Possessive, protective, sending electricity up her spine. They entered a room full of dangerous men pretending to be civilized, champagne and predatory smiles. Dante introduced her to weapons dealers and money launderers, his hand never leaving her. Hila played her part, laughing at crude jokes, leaning into his touch, all while her eyes cataloged faces and her mind recorded conversations. Then she saw him, a man standing near the windows, talking on his phone, his profile familiar from surveillance photos. Alexei Volkov. "Here, at a neutral meeting." "Dante," she whispered, squeezing his hand in warning. He followed her gaze, body tensing. "That's not supposed to be possible. This meeting was supposed to be secure," which meant someone had leaked it. Someone had invited the enemy into the room. Alexei's eyes found them across the space, and his smile was a shark's grin. He ended his call, began moving toward them with deliberate intent. "Mr. Moretti, what an unexpected pleasure." Alexei's English carried a slight Russian accent, cultured and cold. "And this must be the famous Isla Romano. Your friend Lila speaks of you often." Hila's blood ran ice. "You bastard." Dante's hand tightened on her waist, silencing her. "Volkov, you're far from your territory. Am I? Or perhaps someone invited me. Someone who thought it would be entertaining to see your reaction." Alexei's gaze swept the room. "After all, we all have friends in unlikely places, don't we?" A commotion near the entrance, raised voices, security converging, and then Giovanni appeared, flanked by guards, his face a mask of fury. "Dante, what is he doing here?" Giovanni pointed at Alexei. "This was supposed to be neutral ground." "I was invited," Alexei said smoothly, "by someone who sent very detailed information about tonight's meeting. Timing, attendees, security protocols." His smile widened. "Someone who's been very helpful lately." The trap. Dante's trap. But which channel had leaked? Marco's? Giovanni's? Before anyone could speak, Giovanni's phone buzzed. He checked it, face going pale. "It seems," Alexei continued, "that I've just received confirmation of a police raid scheduled for this location in exactly 10 minutes. Tragically anonymous tip. Such a shame when business is interrupted by law enforcement. Chaos erupted. Dealers scrambled for exits. Security shouted orders. In the confusion, Dante grabbed Isla, pulled her toward the service stairs. It was Giovanni, he said, voice tight. He's the only one who knew the exact timing to send it to police. Marco would have warned the Volkovs earlier. This was meant to destroy the meeting and frame me. But why? Later, run. They burst onto the street as sirens wailed closer. Dante's car screeched up, Marco at the wheel, face grim. Get in! Giovanni's men are coming. Dante hesitated one fatal second. Trust or suspicion? Then shoved Isla into the back seat and followed. Marco drove like he was fleeing hell itself. Giovanni tried to have me killed tonight. Said I was the traitor, that you'd ordered my execution. I barely escaped. He's setting us against each other, Isla realized. Divide and conquer. He's been working with the Volkovs for months, Marco continued, voice shaking with rage and betrayal. I found proof. Payments, communications, everything. He's planning a coup against Father, using the Volkovs to eliminate anyone loyal to the current Don. Dante sat silent, processing betrayal layered on betrayal. Giovanni, his mentor, his surrogate father, the man who taught him to kill, had been destroying his family from within. Where's the proof? Dante asked finally. Hidden. I'll take you to it. Marco met his brother's eyes in the rearview mirror. I know you didn't believe me earlier. I know how it looked. But Dante, I would never betray you. Never. Something broke in Dante's expression, and Isla saw the man beneath the weapon, someone capable of love and loyalty and devastating grief. I know. I'm sorry. Save the apology. We have work to do. Marco's smile was sharp, starting with making Giovanni pay. Back at the safe house, Marco produced evidence that painted a damning picture. Months of planning, careful manipulation, Giovanni positioning himself to take control while eliminating anyone who might stop him, including Dante. He was going to kill you, Isla said, seeing the pattern. Frame Marco, eliminate you, blame it on the Volkovs, then step in as the grieving mentor who'd avenge you both. Except we found him first. Dante's voice was empty, hollow. He stood at the window, staring at nothing. He taught me everything. How to shoot, how to fight, how to survive, and all of it was so he could use me and throw me away. Isla moved to him without thinking, touched his arm. I'm sorry. Don't be. He looked at her, and the pain in his eyes was unbearable. This is my world. Betrayal is the only certainty. Not always. Her hand slid down to his, fingers intertwining. Not everyone betrays you. The air between them charged, months of tension crystallizing into this moment. Dante's free hand came up, cupped her face with a gentleness that contradicted everything he was. You should leave, he said softly. After we get Lila, you should run from this world and never look back. Is that what you want? What I want doesn't matter. What's safe? Isla kissed him, cut off his words with her mouth, poured everything she couldn't say into that contact. Fear and desire, and the terrifying realization that somewhere between the poker table and tonight, she'd stopped seeing him as a monster and started seeing him as a man who was damaged and deadly and desperately trying to protect her from himself. Dante responded with devastating intensity, one hand sliding into her hair, the other pulling her flush against him. The kiss was fire and desperation, weeks of restraint shattering into need. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, Dante rested his forehead against hers. This is a mistake. Probably. Isla's hands fisted in his shirt. Are you stopping? No. His voice was rough. God help me, no. He kissed her again, and this time there was no hesitation, no holding back. They stumbled toward the bedroom, shedding weapons and walls, finding something real in the darkness. Not gentle, not soft, but honest and raw and fierce. Afterward, lying tangled together, Dante traced the line of her shoulder with fingers that could kill but touched her like something precious. After tomorrow, he said quietly, everything changes. Giovanni will move against us, the family will fracture, and rescuing Lila. Will be dangerous. I know. Isla turned to face him. But we do it anyway. You're not what I expected. His smile was slight, genuine. Most people who enter my world either break or become monsters. You've done neither. The night's not over yet. But she smiled back, and for a moment in the darkness with this man who'd become her anchor in chaos, Isla let herself believe they might survive what came next. She was wrong. Dawn brought the reckoning. Isla woke to find Dante already dressed, checking weapons with mechanical precision. The intimacy of last night felt like a dream. This morning, he was the Reaper again, all sharp edges and cold focus. Giovanni knows we're coming for him, Dante said without preamble. Marco's contact confirmed it. He's fortifying his position, calling in loyalists. We have maybe 6 hours before he moves against the Don and frames us for treason. Isla sat up, pulling the sheet around herself. And Leila? We hit the Volkov compound at noon. Marco's assembled a team. People we trust, people Giovanni hasn't corrupted. His eyes finally met hers, and she saw the war there. This is your last chance, Isla. After today, there's no going back. You'll be marked, hunted. Your old life ends. She thought of spreadsheets and quiet apartments, of a life built on safety and distance from the darkness. Then thought of Leila, of Dante's hands gentle on her skin, of the woman she'd become in this crucible of violence and impossible choices. I'm already marked, already changed. She stood, moved to him. We finished this, together. Something flickered in his expression, relief or resignation, she couldn't tell. He pulled her close, kissed her forehead, then get ready for war. The plan was surgical, brutal, and depended entirely on timing. While Dante's team hit the Volkov compound to extract Lila, Marco would confront Giovanni in neutral territory, a meeting Giovanni had called, believing he still controlled the board. They'd present the evidence, force a confession before witnesses, and pray the Don's judgment fell in their favor. But plans, Isla was learning, rarely survived first contact with reality. They gathered in the safe house, 8 people including Dante and Marco, all hard-eyed and heavily armed. Isla felt absurdly out of place in tactical gear, a borrowed weapon at her hip she barely knew how to use. The compound has 12 guards, rotating shifts, cameras on every approach. Marco spread blueprints across the table. Lila's held in the east wing, 2nd floor. 2 guards on her door at all times. Alexei? Dante's question was sharp. In the city, meeting with Giovanni, ironically. Marco's smile was grim. Which gives us a window. We breach here. His finger stabbed the blueprint. Through the service entrance. 4-minute response time once alarms trigger. We get in, get Lila, get out. And if she doesn't want to come? Ila's question drew stares. Alexei told me she talks about me. What if he's manipulated her, convinced her she's safer with them? Dante's jaw tightened. Then we convince her otherwise, forcibly if necessary. The drive to the compound was tense silence and final weapons checks. Isla sat beside Dante, their hands linked, an anchor point in the gathering storm. He didn't speak, but his thumb traced circles on her palm, a small intimacy that meant everything. The Volkov estate sprawled behind high walls and electronic gates, all marble and blood money. They parked a quarter-mile out, approached on foot through woods that reeked of pine and danger. Dante's hand signals were precise. The team split, 4 to breach the main entrance as distraction, Dante, Isla, and 2 others to slip through the service entrance. Marco's contact had left unlocked. Inside, the house was obscenely luxurious. Crystal chandeliers, imported rugs, art worth more than lives. They moved through it like ghosts, suppressed weapons ready, every shadow a potential threat. Then, voices. Dante signaled halt, pressed against a wall. Ila's heart hammered as footsteps approached, 2 guards casual in their certainty of safety. Dante moved. 2 quick strikes, silent and efficient. The guards crumpled. No hesitation, no mercy, just necessity. They reached the 2nd floor as gunfire erupted below, the distraction team engaging. Alarms shrieked. The 4-minute clock started. Lila's room was exactly where Marco said. Two guards spun toward them, weapons rising. Dante's team fired first. The guards fell. Dante kicked open the door. Inside, Lila sat on a bed that looked like a prison, despite its silk sheets. She was thinner, but alive. Her eyes went wide, seeing Isla. No. Lila stood, backing away. No, you can't be here. He'll kill you. We're taking you home. Isla moved forward, reached for her friend. This is home. Lila's voice cracked. You don't understand. Giovanni, he killed someone right in front of me. Would have killed me too if Alexei hadn't intervened. He's protecting me. The Morettis want me dead. Giovanni's the traitor, Dante said, his voice cutting through her panic. He's been working with the Volkovs, using you as leverage against both families. Whatever Alexei told you, you're not safe here. You're a pawn. He loves me, but Lila's voice wavered, doubt creeping in. He's using you. Isla grabbed her hands. Lee, please, trust me. We have proof. We have a plan, but we need to leave now. Footsteps pounded in the hallway, shouts in Russian. The 4 minutes were up. Lila, now. Dante barked, already moving toward the window. Something broke in Lila's expression. She grabbed Isla's hand, let herself be pulled toward escape. They rappelled down the exterior wall as bullets shattered windows above them, hit the ground running as the estate erupted in chaos. The extraction team had the vehicles ready. They piled in, tires screaming as they fled. But as they cleared the gates, Isla saw him. Alexei, arriving with reinforcements, his face a mask of fury and something else. Hurt, maybe. Betrayal. For just a moment, his eyes met Lila's through the window, and Isla saw her friend's face crumple with guilt and confusion. He saved me, Lila whispered. When Giovanni was going to kill me, Alexei saved me. He was kind. He kidnapped you, Dante said flatly, focused on evasive driving. Whatever else he did, he took you and held you hostage. To protect me from Giovanni. Lila's voice rose, hysterical. Don't you see, everyone in your world is a monster. At least Alexei was honest about it. The accusation hung in the air. Damning. Isla had no response because Lila wasn't entirely wrong. This world did make monsters. The question was whether kindness in the service of kidnapping was somehow noble or just another shade of evil. They rendezvoused at a different safe house, this one further from the city, as Marco confirmed the meeting with Giovanni was set. The Don would attend, along with key family members, witnesses to whatever came next. We present the evidence, Giovanni falls, and we're clear, Marco explained, though everyone heard the uncertainty. The Don values loyalty above all. When he sees Giovanni's betrayal, he'll order his execution, Dante finished, which means I'll have to do it. Silence. Isla saw the weight of that settle on Dante's shoulders, killing the man who'd raised him, taught him, shaped him into a weapon. Giovanni had betrayed him, but 20 years of history didn't vanish because of treachery. I'll do it, Marco offered. He's my kill too. You don't have to. Yes, I do. Dante's voice was hollow. He trained me for this. It's poetic in a way. The weapon turning on its maker. Isla touched his hand, wishing she had words that could ease this. But some burdens had no comfort, only witness. The meeting was set for a warehouse in neutral territory, the Don's preference for matters of family business. Dante, Marco, and 2 trusted soldiers would attend. Isla and Lila would stay behind, protected by the remaining team. If we don't come back, Dante told Isla privately, pulling her aside, there's money in an account. Credentials in the safe. Take Lila and run. South America, maybe. Somewhere the families don't reach. You're coming back. Isla's voice was fierce, certain. Maybe. He kissed her, soft and desperate. But if I don't, thank you for seeing past the monster. You're not a monster. His smile was sad. Yes, I am, but maybe you made me want to be something else. Then he was gone, walking toward a confrontation that would end in blood no matter how it played out. The warehouse was abandoned steel and shadows when they arrived. The Don sat at a table in the center, an old man whose eyes missed nothing, flanked by his most trusted guards. Giovanni stood opposite, confident, believing he controlled this meeting. Until he saw Marco, saw Dante, saw the flash drives containing his betrayal. What is this? Giovanni's voice remained steady, but his eyes darted calculating exits. Judgment, the Don said quietly. I've been shown evidence of treachery, evidence that requires explanation. Marco stepped forward, presented the financial records, the communications, the pattern of betrayal. Giovanni watched his carefully constructed empire crumble, and something shifted in his expression, from confidence to cornered animal. It's fabricated, Giovanni tried. Marco and Dante working together to undermine me. They're jealous of my position, my influence. Enough. The Don's voice cracked like a whip. I've seen the timestamps, the accounts, the communications. This is your handwriting on our family's death warrant. He stood, and everyone tensed. You've betrayed blood, worked with our enemies, undermined everything we've built. For the family. Giovanni's composure shattered. You're weak, old man, clinging to outdated codes while the Volkovs circle. I was securing our future. By destroying it? Dante spoke for the first time, voice cold. By killing your own people? By making me into a weapon to serve your ambition? Giovanni's laugh was unhinged. I made you into what you are. Without me, you'd be nothing. And this is how you repay me? With betrayal? You taught me well. Dante drew his weapon. Everything happened at once. Giovanni's hand went for his gun, slower than he'd once been, age and arrogance betraying him. Marco moved to block. The Don's guards raised weapons, but it was Dante who fired. One shot, precise, final. Giovanni fell, surprise frozen on his face. The warehouse rang with silence. It's done, the Don said finally. The traitor is dead. You've proven your loyalty, both of you. He looked at Dante with something like pity. I know what he meant to you. What this cost, your sacrifice is noted. Dante stood over Giovanni's body, weapon still raised, face expressionless. But Isla, watching from the van outside through a security feed Marco had set up, saw the tremor in his hands, saw the cost of loyalty written in blood. When they returned, Dante was hollow. He walked past everyone, into the bedroom, and closed the door. Isla found him an hour later, sitting in darkness, weapon disassembled on the bed before him, a ritual or therapy she couldn't tell. He deserved it, she said quietly, sitting beside him. I know. Doesn't make it easier. Dante's hands moved automatically, cleaning, reassembling. He taught me to shoot when I was 12, said a gun was just a tool, no different than a hammer. The intent mattered, not the instrument. His laugh was bitter. Guess his intent was always to use me. You're free of him now? Am I? He finally looked at her, eyes red. I killed the man who raised me, used the skills he taught me, became exactly what he made me. His voice cracked. How do I ever stop being his weapon? Isla took the gun from his hands, set it aside, pulled him close. Dante collapsed against her, shoulders shaking with silent sobs, grief and rage and relief all tangled together. You choose, she whispered. Every day, you choose to be more than what he made you. That's how. They stayed like that as night deepened. Two people bound by blood and choices, holding each other in the darkness while outside, the world they'd broken continued spinning. Tomorrow, they'd deal with Lila's conflicted loyalties and Alexei's fury. Tomorrow, they'd face the consequences of their actions. Tonight, they just survived. The morning after Giovanni's death, Lila made her decision. She found Isla in the kitchen, coffee untouched, staring at nothing. They hadn't really talked since the extraction. Lila processing trauma and confusion, Isla trying to hold together a man who'd killed his father figure, and her own unraveling sense of reality. I need to go back, Lila said without preamble. Ila's head snapped up. What? To Alexei. To the Volkovs. Lila's hands twisted together, nervous but resolute. Not as a prisoner, as someone who can help end this. Giovanni's dead, but the alliance he built with the Volkovs, it's still there, still poisoning everything. Someone needs to dismantle it from the inside. That's insane. Isla stood, coffee sloshing. Lee, they kidnapped you. Whatever Alexei made you feel, it was manipulation. Was it? Lila's eyes flashed. He could have killed me a dozen times. Instead, he protected me, fed me, talked to me like a person, not an asset. Her voice softened. I know it sounds like Stockholm Syndrome. Maybe it is. But I also know I saw his operation, his vulnerabilities. I know how to hurt them if they step out of line. And Alexei, she paused. He's not like Giovanni. He doesn't want war. He wants stability. He wants power. Don't they all? Lila smiled sadly. At least he was honest about it. Isla, I've spent 3 weeks in their world. I've seen things, heard things. If I go back willingly, as someone who can bridge both families, I can feed you information. Help prevent the bloodshed Giovanni was orchestrating. Isla wanted to scream, to lock her friend in a room and force sanity into her. But she saw the determination in Lila's eyes, the same stubbornness that had gotten them through college, through heartbreaks, through life. You'll be in constant danger. I've been in danger since I saw Giovanni's meeting. At least this way, I have some control. Lila grabbed Isla's hands. I need you to trust me, and I need you to convince Dante to let me try. Convincing Dante took 3 hours of argument, Marco's reluctant support, and finally a phone call with the Don himself. In the end, it was pragmatism that won. A spy in the Volkov organization was worth the risk, especially one they could trust. She goes back. She's on her own, Dante warned. We can't protect her inside their territory. If Alexei turns on her, then I die knowing I tried to fix this mess, Lila said firmly. I'm not a victim anymore, Dante. I'm choosing this. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Marco will arrange the approach. You'll be wired, but carefully. If they find it, I know the risks. Lila looked at Isla. Walk me out? They stood on the porch as Marco made calls, coordinating with contacts who could broker Lila's return without it looking like a Moretti operation. The morning was cold, autumn bleeding into winter. I don't want to lose you again, Isla said quietly. You won't. I'll send coded messages through your forensic accounts, transactions that look normal but contain information in the metadata. You'll know I'm alive, and you'll know what the Volkovs are planning. Leela hugged her tight. Thank you for coming for me, for risking everything. Always. Ila's voice cracked. But Lee, if Alexei is what you think he is, if there's something real there, be careful. Men in this world don't love like normal people. They possess. They consume. Leela pulled back, smiled. Look who's talking. You're sleeping with the Grim Reaper and telling me to be careful about feelings? Despite everything, Isla laughed. That's different. Is it? Leela's expression turned serious. We both fell for monsters, Isla. The question is whether our monsters can be more than what their world made them. Leela left an hour later, driven by Marco to a neutral meeting point where Alexei would collect her. Ela watched the car disappear, feeling like she was losing part of herself. Dante found her still standing there, staring at empty road. She'll be okay. Lila's stronger than she looks. I know. Doesn't make letting her go easier. Ela turned to him. What happens now? Giovanni's dead. The Volkovs have an inside connection through Leela, and you've proven your loyalty. Is it over? In my world, nothing's ever over. Dante's arm wrapped around her shoulders, but we have breathing room, time to figure out what comes next. And what does come next? For us, I mean. He was quiet for a long moment. The Don wants me to take Giovanni's position. Underboss, second in command. It's an honor, recognition of service. Isla's stomach dropped. That's good? It's a cage. He turned her to face him. An underboss doesn't retire, doesn't leave, stays in the life until he dies or gets promoted to Don, which just means a bigger, more gilded cage. You're saying no. I'm saying I don't know. Dante's hands cupped her face. For 20 years, this life was all I knew. All I was. Then you walked into that poker game, and suddenly I'm imagining something else. Something impossible. A life where I'm not a weapon, where I don't count bodies like tallies, where... He stopped, vulnerable in a way she'd never seen. where I could be the man you deserve instead of the monster I am. You're not. I am. His thumb traced her cheek. But maybe I could be something else too, if you're willing to take the risk. Before Hila could answer, Marco burst onto the porch, phone in hand, face grim. We have a problem. The Volkovs are moving. 3 cars, heavily armed, heading this direction. They know where we are. Dante's entire demeanor shifted. Weapon out, tactical in seconds. How long? 10 minutes? Maybe less. Alexei's leading them personally. Marco's jaw was tight. Lila's with them. This might be her proving loyalty, showing them she can deliver us. Or Alexei discovered she was wired and is using her as bait. Dante was already moving, barking orders. Defensive positions. Get everyone armed. Isla. Don't tell me to hide. She grabbed the weapon he'd taught her to use. I'm not running anymore. For a heartbeat, she saw pride and terror war in his expression. Then he nodded. Stay close to me. No heroics. The next minutes were frantic preparation. Furniture barricaded, weapons distributed, escape routes planned. Isla's hands shook as she checked her gun, but her mind was clear. Whatever came through that door, she'd face it standing. The cars arrived in a cloud of dust and menace. Doors opened, men emerged, Volkov soldiers, weapons ready. And at the center, Alexei pulling Lila from the vehicle. She's not wired, Marco confirmed through binoculars. And she doesn't look afraid. She looks determined. Dante stepped onto the porch, weapon lowered but ready. Isla flanked him, Marco on his other side, a standoff painted in autumn light and the promise of violence. Moretti, Alexei called out. I've come to negotiate. Funny way to negotiate, bringing an army, says the man who stormed my home and stole what was mine. Alexei's accent was thicker now, stressed. His hand rested possessively on Lila's shoulder. But Lila has convinced me that perhaps cooperation serves us both better than war. I'm listening. Giovanni's network, the deals he made, the alliances he built, they're falling apart. The other families sense weakness, see opportunity. Separately, we're vulnerable. Together, we control the region. Alexei's smile was sharp. Lila has shown me your financial evidence, how Giovanni played us against each other. I propose a truce. The Volkovs and Morettis working together to stabilize what he destabilized. It was tempting, pragmatic, and absolutely a trap. Hila saw Dante calculating, weighing options. And what guarantees do I have? You won't betray us the moment it's convenient. Lila. Alexei pulled her forward. She stays with me, not as prisoner, but as liaison. She knows both our operations, can verify compliance, alert either side to betrayal. She's our insurance policy. I agreed to this, Lila said, voice carrying across the distance. It's the only way to end the cycle. Giovanni made us enemies. We don't have to stay that way. Dante looked at Hila, silent question in his eyes. She thought about Lila's determination, about the endless violence, about the possibility, however slim, of something different. One condition, Hila called out. I verify your financials quarterly. Any hint of planning against the Morettis, any suspicious movement of money or resources, and the deal ends. Alexei's eyebrows rose. The accountant speaks. Very well. But I have a condition too. Lila's safety is guaranteed. Any harm comes to her from any source, and I hold you both personally responsible. Agreed. Dante lowered his weapon completely. We'll need to formalize this with the Don, but in principle, you have your truce. The tension bled from the scene slowly, like poison draining. Alexei's men relaxed fractionally. Lila smiled, relief and triumph mixed. But as the Volkovs prepared to leave, Alexei approached alone, stopping at the porch steps. A word, Moretti. Privately. Dante descended, and Isla's hand tightened on her weapon. They spoke too quietly to hear, but she saw Alexei's expression, earnest, almost pleading. Saw Dante's careful neutrality. Finally, Dante returned. He says he loves her, says he'll protect her with his life. His voice was flat, unrateable. Do you believe him? I believe he thinks he means it. Whether that's enough, Dante shrugged. We'll see. 3 days later, the Don formally approved the truce. The families gathered for a signing ceremony that felt medieval, old men binding with blood and contracts what their ancestors had torn apart with bullets. Dante was offered the underboss position again. This time, he accepted, but with conditions. "I'll serve for 5 years," he told the Don, Isla beside him. "Help stabilize, rebuild what Giovanni destroyed, ensure the Volkov truce holds. After that, I step down, retire, live whatever life is possible for someone like me." The Don studied him with ancient eyes. "5 years is a long time. You may change your mind. Maybe. But that's my offer." Accepted. The old man's smile was knowing. "I suspect the accountant has something to do with this sudden interest in retirement." Isla felt her face heat, but didn't deny it. The Don chuckled, dismissed them with a wave. Outside, the autumn air tasted like freedom, distant but possible. 5 years, Isla said as they walked to Dante's car. That's a long time to wait for a normal life. It's also time to plan. To save money, establish legitimate covers, figure out where we want to disappear to. He pulled her close. "Unless you're not willing to wait." Isla thought about the woman she'd been, safe, solitary, scared of the darkness her father had died in. Thought about who she'd become, someone who'd walked through fire and found strength she didn't know she had. Someone who'd fallen for a killer and seen the man beneath the monster. "I've waited my whole life for something real," she said. 5 more years? I can do that. As long as you promise me something. Anything. Promise you'll try. To be more than what they made you. To believe you deserve the life we're building toward." Dante's kiss was his answer. Fierce and tender, tasting of hope and ash, of endings and beginnings. Epilogue. 6 months later, Isla's phone buzzed with a transaction alert. She smiled, recognizing the pattern. Lila's coded message embedded in seemingly normal financial movement. "Everything okay? Alexei sends his regards. Actually happy, believe it or not." "Good news?" Dante asked, emerging from the bedroom of their new apartment, still within the city, still close enough to his responsibilities, but separate, theirs. Lila's alive, safe, and apparently in love with her former kidnapper. Isla shook her head. "We're both insane." "Probably." He wrapped arms around her from behind, rested his chin on her shoulder. "But we're insane together. That counts for something." The truce was holding. Giovanni's network was being systematically dismantled and rebuilt into something cleaner, if not clean. Dante still killed. It was what the family needed, what he'd agreed to. But he came home to her, and slowly, painfully, he was learning to separate the weapon from the man. Some nights, he had nightmares. Some days, the violence lived in his eyes. But other times, he smiled at her cooking disasters, laughed at stupid movies, held her like she was the only thing keeping him anchored to humanity. They were building something in the ruins of their old lives. Imperfect, complicated, shadowed by choices that couldn't be undone. But it was theirs, earned in blood and loyalty and love that defied logic. 4.5 years remained on Dante's service. 4.5 years until they could disappear, try for normal, see if people forged in darkness could survive in light. Isla had no idea if it would work. But as Dante turned her in his arms and kissed her, as autumn sun painted gold across their stolen moment of peace, she decided to believe in possibility. In 5 years, maybe they'd be free. Or maybe freedom was what you built in the spaces between violence. The quiet mornings, the shared smiles, the choice to hold on when everything said to let go. Either way, they'd face it together. Survivors of their own dark romance, writing an ending that felt like a beginning. Please like and subscribe to keep me creating more intriguing, interesting, and engaging stories.